Hey guys, Luke with Logical Lacrosse here, and welcome to part 2 of my Week 4 review of all things that occur in the NCAA lax world of men's lacrosse. As all my weekly reviews, feel free to check out the description below to see what games are covered in this episode. If I don't cover the game you're looking for in this part, then I guarantee you it'll be in one of the other parts. So, after saying that, let's get into this. So, first game, Delaware stays undefeated, hosting Monmouth out of New Jersey, a very new program. Delaware wins 8-4. I think Delaware is a pretty sneaky good team, I believe, at least from what I've seen so far of the Blue Hens. And they did win this game in front of a home crowd of 429 people, and really, they kind of came out and took control of this game, started fast. They won the first quarter 4-0 and never let go of that lead. But shots in favor of them narrowly, 35-34. 19 turnovers for Monmouth, which is not absolutely horrible, but pretty close to being horrible. And only 11 for Delaware. So thank you, Delaware, for almost being in single digits on turnovers. I love it when I see low turnovers like this. I mean, it makes such a difference in the game. And Delaware, another credit to them, which shows how well coached they are from their staff, is they were 22 for 22 on clears. For another reason, Monmouth couldn't get back in the game. I mean, when you don't turn over on clears, on offense, it's really hard to beat a team that doesn't make mistakes. And clearly they've shown they're a team that really doesn't beat themselves, at least early on. But man up, another thing, Monmouth 0 for 4 on the man up. If you convert on all those, it was a tie game. Delaware 1 for 3. But of course, credit both man down defense. Delaware needs to get that a little bit higher, 2 for 3. You want it at 50% or above. But my players of the game, we'll start with Monmouth. Noah Load, he had 16 saves. I mean, really, this game probably could have been a lot worse, but he kept his team in it. So good job to him. I know he doesn't get the win, which is a shame for good goaltending. I always feel bad when a good goalie loses in the end. But hey, you only give up 8 goals. I mean, most games you should win when you only give up 8 goals. And my other player of the game is Griffin Feigl. He had a hat trick, so 75% of the offense there. Obviously, he's going to be a player of the game for them. Delaware, I got Matt DeLuca. He had 13 saves, a reason Monmouth couldn't score. Clearly, he only allowed 4 goals. Great day for him. And Dean DeSimone, he had a hat trick, so almost 50% of the offense. So, yeah, good. I think a good game. Delaware, I believe they're the Lax Sports Network Game of the Week for Week 5. I think they play St. Joseph's, but don't quote me on that right now. But, yeah, that'll be a good game because St. Joseph's, if that's who they're playing, which I think it is a very talented team as well, even though they lose this week. But, yeah, good win for Delaware, and I think they're kind of starting to show people that they're legit. So, next game, Maryland follows up their big win against Colgate at home by going on the road. Well, not really a road game. I mean, they're both pretty close together. But Maryland at Navy, a great college lacrosse rivalry. Navy played tough, but Maryland too much for the midshipmen in the end. 14-9 for the Terrapins in front of a crowd of 2,151. Amazing to see that at a lacrosse game. But the tale of the game is Maryland won the later quarters in both halves. So, for instance, in the second quarter, Maryland wins it 5-1, so they take the momentum in the halftime. And then in the fourth quarter, Maryland wins it 4-1. So they really win those later quarters in the half, which are very important to do, clearly because they win. Shots in favor of the Terps, 40-32. Turnovers good for both teams, 17 for Maryland, a little high, but not bad. And 13 for Navy, which is very good. So, congrats to the Navy on that. I think another thing, credit Maryland's ride for this, because Navy is a very disciplined team, so they don't usually have to see this for a Navy team. But they were only 13-19 on clears, which is another reason Maryland was able to get the ball some more and put in at least a couple more goals than they probably should have had. But man up, bad for Maryland, so that's one thing they can take into this week of practice for improvement. They were 0 for 2. But also Navy deserves credit for that. And 2 for 5 on the man up for Navy, so 40%, pretty close to 50, but a little higher. I mean, if they would have got the other 3, it would have been 14-12, and who knows what happens. Yeah, I know that's pretty hard to ask every team to always do 100%, but I mean, that's what your coach is expecting. That's what you work on. You really got to take advantage of those, especially when you're an outmatched team. Like, Navy. No offense, I'm not trying to diss their roster or anything, but I mean, Maryland's clearly going to get the more talented roster on paper, so you really got to take advantage of those man-ups, is what I'm saying. But players of the game, Maryland, I got Lewis Dubai, kind of a different player for Maryland, which was cool to see. He had 5 goals. Great game for Lewis, so congratulations to him. And for Navy, I got Nick Cole. He had 3 goals, 1 assist. So great game. Always a great game. Very tight, competitive matchups. But yeah, Maryland was just too much for the midshipmen in this case. Next up, Albany responds against Drexel after being embarrassed by Syracuse. So Albany, I'm not sold on Albany still. Albany wins 13-12. Drexel almost won this game. Clearly it was a 1-goal game, but I mean, Drexel was leading for a long time. And this was in front of a home crowd of 564 people. Shots in favor of the Great Danes, 44-42. Turnovers, 17 for Albany, 20 for Drexel. And I think those 20 for Drexel really made a difference in why they lose. Face-offs, 8 of 19 in favor of Drexel. Again, Albany loses in that department as well. And man-up, 1 for 3 for Albany and 3 for 5 for Drexel. So Drexel did do well on the man-up, so I can't critique them for that. I know. That's my favorite thing to critique on teams that lose. But good job by them. Players of the game, I got Jacob Patterson for Albany, had 5 goals, 1 assist. Tehoka Nanticoke really didn't do much in this game, at least on the statistics sheet. And for Drexel, I got Reed Bowering. Again, he had a hat trick. So yeah, tough game for Drexel. I think Drexel's really good. I don't know how good Albany is, honestly. I think they're, at least from these first 2 games we've seen them, I think they're looking at a bit of a down year. I mean, they're not even in the top 20. Clearly early in the year, but I mean, they've not been impressive. So Lafayette, they won early in the week against Manhattan, and they win again, this time at home against Binghamton, who played Colgate tough, and Colgate's good. And this was in front of a home crowd of 318 people, which is pretty good. Lafayette's a very small school out in Pennsylvania. And one interesting thing is Lafayette had to come back in this game. Binghamton won the first quarter 7-3, so they started out really fast. 7 goals in any quarter is terrible, but the fact that they gave up 5 in their main 3, good adjustments by the defensive unit and staff. But shots in favor of Binghamton, 37-35. Turnovers, 21 for Binghamton. I think that's the reason they lost. When you get to 20, that's really bad. 17 for Lafayette, a little too high. Clears, really bad on both teams. 13-18 for Binghamton and 15-24 for Lafayette. I think that's the reason this game was closer than it probably should have been. Lafayette probably the more talented team overall, but when you mess up on your clears this much, I mean, you're going to give extra possessions to the opposing team, and they're going to clearly take advantage of some of them. I mean, they're just obviously going to. It's going to happen. I mean, you can't keep leaving your defense out to dry. Ground balls, 33-29 in favor of the Leopards of Lafayette. And man up, terrible for both teams. Binghamton 0-for-3. As I always say, gotta convert on your man ups, especially when you lose by 1 and you don't convert on a single one. If they would have converted on 1, it would have been overtime. Convert on 2, they win. Lafayette could have been 18-12 if they converted on all of them. So not even a close game then, really. I mean, not just kind of a good, solid win. But yeah, it's a closer game than probably could have been. Should have been. But players of the game, I got Binghamton with Joe Licata. He had a hat trick. Good game for him. And for Lafayette, I got Andrew Robbins. He had 4 goals. So good, close game. Lafayette's really starting to impress me. I'm really starting to pay attention to them. They might be a team. I don't think they're going to win the Patriot League with Loyola. but I think they might surprise some teams in the conference and maybe even make a run to earn that 4th spot. So Quinnipiac still struggling this year. They lose on the road at Vermont, 20-10 in front of a home crowd of 172 people. Vermont started this game off quick, not really ever in doubt. They win the first quarter, 6-2. Never look back. Shots in favor of Vermont, 53-32. And one note, Vermont had 39 of those shots on goal out of their 53, which is amazing accuracy. So whatever they're doing in their shooting drills, it definitely paid off, at least this week. But turnovers pretty good for both teams. Only 16 for Quinnipiac and an amazing 13 for Vermont. So good job to keep it under 15. Ground balls, 20 for Quinnipiac, 32 for the Catamounts. Another reason why they're able to keep up the score. You got to win your ground balls. Players of the game, I got Quinnipiac's Nick Damuccio with 18 saves. So really kept it closer than it should have been. Vermont probably could have put a 30 if it wasn't for Damuccio. And for Vermont, I got Liam Limoges. He had 4 goals. Really good game. for him, a fifth of the scoring output. Yeah, good game for Vermont, and Quinnipiac's just still struggling. So next up, Ohio State has a tough opponent at home, which is Bucknell. Ohio State takes it 16-13. I think Ohio State's going to be pretty good this year. When they won this game in front of a home crowd of 1,246 people. This game was actually not close for a long time, but Bucknell made a massive effort to come back. They win the fourth quarter 7-2, but the lead was just too much for the Bison to come back from. Shots in favor of the Buckeyes, 35-33. 14 turnovers for Bucknell only, pretty good. Really good, actually, and 19 for Ohio State, so they had more turnovers than the losing team, which was kind of interesting. I noticed that a lot this week, so, I mean, they better stop that, or people are going to start making fun of me for saying not to turn over, because there's a correlation between more turnovers and winning, but whatever, don't turn it over. But ground balls in favor of the Buckeyes, 44-35, and face-offs also in their favor, 21-10. So my players of the game, Bucknell, Tommy Sobko. He had 3 goals, 1 assist, good game. And for Jack Myers, 7 goals, 1 assist, 50% of the offensive efficiency. I mean, you can definitely be the player of the game. But good win for the Buckeyes. I think they're going to be a tough team to beat this year. And Bucknell's also a really tough team. That's a great resume booster for Ohio State. So, yeah, good game. VMI continues to impress me. They host NJIT, a very young program. And VMI wins 15-8 in front of a home crowd of 119 people. They're going to start getting more people. They start winning. This is a good year for them. And this game was not that close, except at the end of the third. It was 3-2, but then VMI really pulled away. It was never really in doubt after that. Shots, 68 for VMI, 42 for the Highlanders. Turnovers, 21 for NJIT, so really bad. And only 10 for VMI. Great job for the Keydets. Only turnover that much. Amazing. I mean, that coaching staff, Burstner deserves a lot of credit. I think it's a really tough job to coach there, just because of all the extra things that go on with the military school, and it's not one of the premier 3 service academies. So, you know, it's tough to bring guys in there, and the fact that they've won their first games is really impressive. That staff, I'm really happy for them. Great guys, great players. I mean, they're all really nice and respectful. So I'm getting on my soapbox and so I'll continue now with the ground balls. VMI 37-23, and man up. That's my one knock on VMI. They were 0 for 2, so yeah, 0%, pretty bad. Clearly bad. It was worse as you can get, and 1 for 3 on the man up for NJIT. So good man down overall for VMI, but don't want to give up any. But players of the game, I got NJIT's Alexander Hunt. He had 20 saves, so really kept it closer than it probably should have been. And VMI got Ryan Perotti. He had 2 goals and 6 assists. So the assist master, that he's probably got a lot of friends in the locker room if he keeps handing off goals like that. So yeah, great win for the Keydets, and I'm looking forward to seeing him play later in the year. So upset alert. High Point, after ruining a lot of people's day, finally goes down to a very game St. John's squad. St. John's 1 loss, and it was 15-9 loss to Rutgers. So St. John's, I picked them to finish 3rd in the Big East. I think they're a sleeper team, a dark horse in the Big East. And they win at High Point 10-9 in front of a home crowd of 644 people. And what made the difference was St. John's won the 3rd quarter. Great defensive effort. They won it 3-1. So, yeah, when you do that, I mean, you're going to win games when you win the 4th quarter more often than not, unless you're already in a big hole, like kind of what earlier with Bucknell and Ohio State. But shots in favor of St. John's, 37-36. Turnovers, 19 for St. John's, so a little high, but not absolutely horrible. And they were terrible for High Point. And 28, they had a lot against Virginia, and they had even more against St. John. 28 straight up pathetic. I mean, come on, if you're a top 10 team. I mean, I'm glad High Point's having such great success, but you cannot get complacent. And this is what happens when you get sloppy in your play. You got to treat every game like the Super Bowl. And, yeah, it's just really bad play with the ball there for High Point. Ground balls, they did win those 46-44 over St. John's. Both teams over 3 on the man up. I mean, if High Point converts on one of those, it's tied. 2 of them, they win. So, you got to convert on the man up. But both man down defenses do deserve credit. For players of the game, for St. John's, I got Mike Madsen. He had 3 goals, 1 assist. And for High Point, I got Tim Troutner Jr. He had 11 saves. I know he didn't have the the massive saves like usual, but really helped his team out and kept it close. To only give 10 goals is really good. So, yeah, High Point's going to have to rebound. We'll see how they can handle some adversities. I mean, they've really handled winning well, but we'll see how they handle their first loss of the year. Kind of a surprise loss to a lot of people as well, even though St. John's is a very good team. So don't hate on High Point. But, yeah, we'll see how both teams play moving forward. So Virginia felt the sting of defeat against High Point earlier this week, and they handed that pain over to Princeton, who was leading a lot of this game. I watched parts of this game, so I was kind of flipping through all the other games, giving analysis, and Virginia in overtime wins 12-11. I thought Princeton was going to win this, so great win for the Cavaliers. I'm really happy for them. And they did this in front of a home crowd, 2,047 people, which is great. I've been to Princeton, actually, for a lacrosse tournament. It was like a big recruiting event. I got to visit the Princeton campus and all that. It was a beautiful area. So I'm sure all the people there saw the game, even though they lost, got to have a lot of fun in the surrounding area. But shots in favor of the Tigers, 55-43. Good on turnovers for both teams, 17 for Virginia, a little high. And good for Princeton, though, 15. Clears, sloppy on both sides, 15-20 for Virginia and 17-23 for Princeton. Those clears are the reason Princeton lost. But man up, 1 for 3 for Virginia, 1 for 4 for Princeton. Princeton, 1 for 4, 25%, not going to cut it. Clearly, as they lost in overtime. For players of the game, for Virginia, I got Patrick Birkinshaw, 24 saves. That's just insane. He's really the reason Virginia wins this game. If his team doesn't buy his food already, they better have bought his food after this game. Because, I mean, that is it. He played out of his mind. I mean, that's probably the game of his life. I mean, Princeton's going to be looking forward for that guy to graduate. But Charlie Durbin of Princeton's my player of the game for the Tigers. He had 4 goals. So, yeah, good game. Princeton's got Hopkins next. Virginia's got Syracuse next. So, the schedule doesn't get any easier for both teams, so they got to keep it up, both of them. Robert Morris hosts Bellarmine. Bellarmine looking for that first win. They do not get it. Robert Morris wins 15-7 in front of a home crowd of 315 people. Robert Morris, most impressive stat about this game was they win the second half 9-0. 0 goals allowed in the second half. I mean, that's... You can't complain about that. As a D guy. As a D guy like me, I mean, when you post a shutout in the second half, I mean, that's amazing. Those are the 2 most important quarters, and you won them both, clearly. Shots in favor of Robert Morris, 64-32. 27 turnovers for Bellarmine, which is pitiful. 15 for Robert Morris, which is pretty good. Ground balls in favor of Robert Morris, 32-31. So my players of the game for Bellarmine, I got Jordan Dondiano. He had 21 saves, really kept it closer than it should have been. Robert Morris should have got 30 on him, but the goaltender played well. And for Robert Morris to play the game was the entire defense. When you hold a team to 0 points in an entire half, you are going to be my unit of the game, set player of the game. So great job for Robert Morris. Bellarmine just got to keep working. They are clearly struggling with the new coaching staff. I mean, that's definitely a rebuilding job. Well, you got to keep playing hard, and congrats to Robert Morris on a good win. So Towson, a good team, and Georgetown, a team that was really good last year, but I don't think they're as good this year. And it kind of showed with Towson taking this game on the road, 14-8 in front of a home crowd of 841 people. A big difference was Towson won the fourth quarter 6-2, and there was a 6-point differential. So, yeah, I mean, really good by the Tigers there to pull away in the fourth quarter. Shots in favor of Towson, 45-38. 19 turnovers for Towson, 13 for Georgetown. So, pretty shocking. Georgetown had a few turnovers. It's still lost by 6. But ground balls in favor of Towson, 39-20. With face-offs going to Towson, 21-4. A really big difference for why they won. And man-out, 1 for 2 for Towson, 1 for 5 for Georgetown. So Georgetown not good on the man-out. Towson was good, but Towson's always had good defense, so they do deserve credit for that. Players of the game, for Towson, I got Alex Woodall, the Bogo. He had a big battle with obesity. I read a story on it. So I'm glad he's been able to get that kind of resolved and fight it back against it. And he also had an amazing game. Went 19 for 23 on the faceoff, so he wins the player of the game for Towson. And for Georgetown, I got Daniel Bucaro. He had 3 goals, 1 assist. So yeah, good win for Towson. They got Loyola coming up this Wednesday. But yeah, well, Georgetown is going to have to rebound. So next, Fairfield at Sacred Heart. Fairfield got blown out of the water last week, but great rebound. Sacred Heart had a tough week, by the way. Fairfield wins 12-11 on the road in front of a home crowd of 455 Sacred Heart fans. Fairfield wins the fourth quarter 5-2, which makes the difference in a one-goal game. Shots in favor of Sacred Heart 42-41. Turnovers pretty bad for both teams, especially bad for Fairfield 23. 18 for Sacred Heart, so a little too high. Clears 12-21 for Fairfield. That's really bad. I mean, that's very bad. But I mean, they won, so for whatever reason, it didn't matter this game, but it was closer than it should have been with that. Sacred Heart does deserve credit. 21 for 21 clears. Amazing job by those guys to do that. 33-36 ground balls in favor of Sacred Heart. And the man up, another reason why they won, man up. You all know I love to harp on the man up. 4 for 5 on the man up for Fairfield, which is amazing, 80%. And 0 for 2 for Sacred Heart. So don't come around one, they lose. And it happens again. The man up bug bites another team and causes defeat. But my players of the game for Fairfield, Patrick Drake, 4 goals, 1 assist. And James Corasaniti, he had 18 saves. Sorry about that, little butcher. But for Sacred Heart, I got Brooks Dutton. He had 14 saves as a goaltender. So a good play by both goaltenders and a great win and rebound for Fairfield. Sacred Heart had a tough week this week, but they're going to have to rebound because no one's going to feel sorry for them in their upcoming slate of games. So good one. Next, UMass finally gets that first win on the road at Harvard, who lost last week to North Carolina. And this was 12-9 UMass in front of a home crowd of 1,233 people. UMass wins the fourth quarter 5-2, which really makes the difference in the 3-goal game, as they won in that differential by 3. Final and in the fourth quarter. Shots in favor of UMass 50-36, with ground balls in favor of the Minutemen as well, 25-22. Man up, really bad for UMass, 0 for 5. Terror, that's awful. Harvard does deserve credit though with the man up, and 3 for 7 for Harvard. So UMass is lucky Harvard did not convert on all those man ups, because if they did, they would have won. But turnovers, 19 for UMass, too high, and 16 for Harvard, which is pretty average. Players of the game, we'll start with UMass. I got Chris Conley with 5 goals. Monster game, basically 60%, 50% of the offense. And for Harvard, I got Miles Ham, 2 goals, 2 assists. Yeah, good win for UMass, and Harvard still searching for that first win. They got Holy Cross up next, so there's an opportunity to get that first win. No disrespect to Holy Cross. So next up, Air Force against Cleveland State. No real home team. This played at Denver University. I got some revenge. Last year we played Cleveland State when I was on staff, and we lost, and I was absolutely in shock. I thought we were going to win that game, but no one really came to play, and they did. So Cleveland State got us last year at Air Force, and this year Air Force gets Cleveland State back. Air Force wins it 11-8. What made the difference was they won the second quarter 5-2, and they really never let go of that lead and that kind of differential. So good job for the Falcons and head coach Bill Wilson and all his assistants, because they're great people, great guys. If you're a high school recruit watching this, I highly recommend to give Air Force a look. Shots in favor of the Falcons, 37-25. Turnovers, 28, which is bad for both. Clearly, 20 is not good. You got to get that cleaned up. And that really bites Air Force in the butt. Not in this game, but in their next game the day after, which I saw in person against Utah. But clears bad for both teams as well, which again haunts Air Force their next game. 16-23 and clears for Air Force, 18-24 for Cleveland State. Ground balls for the Falcons, 33-23. Players of the game, I got Tristan Hanna for Cleveland State with 3 goals, 1 assist. And for Air Force, I got Trey Lervick, he had 3 goals, 1 assist. Great game by Trey Lervick. He's a great guy. Works really hard, so I'm glad to see some of his hard work paying off for him in that game. A good win by Air Force. Good to rebound after that from that Cleveland State game last year. I was really worried they were going to lose it again, just because I was like, man, that sucked. No offense to Cleveland State, but man, that was the worst I've ever felt after a loss in any competition. So yeah, good job to Air Force and Cleveland State. I know they lose against Denver the next day, but they play Denver really tough, so they rebounded well. no matter what the overall record was this weekend. So, final game for part 2 is Providence at St. Joseph's, and I was a little surprised by the score. Providence takes it 14-12 in front of a home crowd of 827 people. Just dominates this game for the Friars. Shots in favor of St. Joseph's, though, 53 to 39. Turnovers, good for both teams, 15 for Providence, 11 for St. Joseph's. Ground balls in favor of St. Joseph's, 31-19. Man up, 2 for 4 and 1 for 7 for St. Joseph's. And a lot of that goes down to the goaltender for Providence, who's also my player of the game for the Friars. Tate Boyce, 27 saves. I don't know if that's an NCAA record, but if that's not, he's got to be close. 27 saves, definitely the best saves I've seen all year, and probably ever. Tate Boyce, wow, give credit to everyone else. Providence, the offense scored clearly enough. 14 is really good. But yeah, 27 saves. St. Joseph, this game was... St. Joseph should not have lost by this much. But when you get against a hot goaltender, that won't let the ball through him. It's just the same thing in hockey. Kind of like Holtby for the Capitals in the playoffs. That guy is a wall. Credit to Boyce. Amazing game. He must have seen my things on Tim Trouter and said he could do better. But yeah, great game by him. And for St. Joseph's, I got Ryan Doran. He had 1 goal, 2 assists, so the best offensive player for them. But yeah, no one was getting the ball past Boyce. So guys, that'll do it for part 2 of my NCAA Lacrosse Week 4 review. If you like this video, please leave a like and feel free to subscribe, as it really helps grow the channel and I truly appreciate it. And again, thank you so much for all the support you guys have already showed me. If you want more content like this in a different outlet, you can always follow me on Twitter or Instagram at the same name. It's logical_lacrosse. I also have a website where I'm posting more content like this at www.logicallacrosse.com. So again, thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, have a good rest of your day.